So,
Hi, Scotty.
Scotty and I were just talking, and Scotty might jump in and ask you a question too at some point. But, Ed Werder reports that Deion Sanders, if he is offered the job, he would take it, and that he is very enthusiastic about, or Jerry Jones is enthusiastic about this opportunity. I'm hearing it all on the North Texas, the Dallas, end of it, and the national end. Your boots on the ground as far as covering the situation in Boulder and Colorado football. What are you hearing, Kev?
Yeah, I've been told and I've been hearing that there's a contract offer on the table for Deion Sanders, and Joel Klatt said himself it's very, very, he threw in a third very good. And so it's one of those things where I just don't know if Deion Sanders, I think it's just a decision of what he wants to do at this point, right? I don't think it's a money thing.
Real quick, let me clear this up. So the contract is that a new contract by Colorado?
Yes, a new contract by Colorado that would keep him in Boulder for the foreseeable future. Obviously, he had a great year this past season, going 9-4, their first 9-win season since 2016. They made their first bowl game since 2020. And I think it really just comes down to what Deion Sanders is more interested in. And although he's kind of been saying he has no NFL interest for 2 years now, I think we've learned that coaches often say they don't have interest in a job, and then they're going to do whatever they feels right.
In your opinion, and again, there's only so much, you're a legit journalist. There's almost so much reporting we can do. I feel like we're almost up to speed with what's going on at this moment. But as far as what you've gleaned about, covering Deion for as long as you have, in that kind of microwave of a coaching situation for him, what do you think the interest is as far as, is it any job in the NFL or is it this job?
That's a great question. I think there are probably 2 jobs that he was interested in, one of them being the Raiders. Obviously, his people sent out feelers for that one. I think there's 2 reasons for him to be interested. The first one, the Raiders, like I said, it was because he had a chance to coach his son, right? The Raiders have the 6th pick. It's very more manageable for them to move up and trade for Shedeur if possible. The Dallas Cowboys, and I talked about this on my show as well, the Dallas Cowboys is one of the biggest jobs in American sports, right? We view the star as arguably the biggest brand in American sports. And I think his ties with Jerry Sanders, he won a Super Bowl with the team back in, I think it was 96. I just think it's kind of the brand and the recognition, right? I don't think there's he'd take the Cleveland Browns job. I don't think he'd be taking the Jacksonville Jaguars job if offered. I think it's because it's the Dallas Cowboys. It's the biggest job in the NFL. He's with Jerry Jones. It'd be a spectacle. I think it's just a matter of, it's a huge job, and I think anyone who would be offered that job would listen. I think Scotty would take a listen if offered, right, Scotty?
Scotty would definitely listen.
I would definitely listen and decline for the good of my team. Yeah.
There we go.
He's a Cowboys fan. He knows better. Yo, Kev, and it's funny, by the way. I was out in Tempe. I called the Arizona State UCF game the other night. But you know what I thought? Because you mentioned that 96 Super Bowl. I was right by Sun Devil Stadium. I was like, God damn, this is the last place the Cowboys won a Super Bowl.
Right.
So, almost 30 years ago. That was at Sun Devil Stadium. It wasn't in Glendale at one of those big ones. It was at, a big college stadium. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah. I wasn't born.
Where did Shiloh and Shedeur come into this whole deal?
Yeah, I think this is where it gets confusing, right? Because Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show and said the Cowboys aren't trading Dak Prescott. And so it was already complicated before. I had looked into it, and if they were to trade Dak Prescott, they'd have like a $104 million hard cap hit. They have the 12th pick, which for outside of that one anonymous scout who says Shedeur is not a first-round pick, he's probably going to the top 5, right? And so the Dallas Cowboys really they're binded with Dak Prescott. They don't have the pick to get Shedeur. And so if Deion Sanders takes the Dallas Cowboys job, he's taking it solely because he wants to coach in the NFL. He could probably get Shiloh because Shiloh's honestly a late round flyer, probably an undrafted free agent. And I think he'd probably be the easier one of the 2 to get. Whereas Shedeur, obviously it just comes down to you're probably going to play against him, and maybe he could sign in free agency somewhere down the line. But again, it really just comes down to, does Deion Sanders want to coach in the NFL? And if he does, so with the Dallas Cowboys, he's not going to coach both of his sons.
What is the feel out there in Boulder? Because what he's built is really, really cool from a national lens. And obviously for you, I mean, it's good for business, right? for all of us. I do a ton of stuff with the Big 12. That was one of the first things I talked about last week when this was really becoming a reality, that he could take this job. It's not great for the Big 12. It's not great for Colorado. What's the feeling around the university like if Deion were to leave? Where does Colorado go?
Yeah, I think, the timing of it would really hurt the program, right? The transfer portal saga has kind of come and gone. There's still guys out there, but Colorado's players would all have I think it's a 30-day window to enter the portal. So you'd probably see your roster ravaged. I don't really know where you go in January for a head coach. You probably have to look within and hope that maybe the players would play for the defensive coordinator, Robert Livingston, who had a really big year, and just hope that you retain some guys. But if you're Colorado, you're losing things on the field and off the field. And I'll kind of run you through a list of like what Coach Prime did for Colorado. In 2023, they had $113 million brought into the local economy. They had the most watched bowl game outside of the college football playoff. Before he got to Colorado, they had 19 wins across 5 seasons. He's at 13 in 2 years. He had their highest AP ranking since 2016, second time they finished ranked in the college football playoff. And then he signed 3 of their top 6 highest ranked recruits in program history, including their highest ranked quarterback in program history. And I think aside from losing a really good coach who knows a lot about football and has put a lot of people around him to help mask his flaws as a coach.
And is perfect for the NIL era. Is right. Just perfect.
Exactly. You're losing someone who generates interest in your program, right? Colorado, and this isn't a hot take by any means. Before Deion Sanders was there, Colorado was a afterthought of a college football program. When I worked at the Pac-12 networks, 99% of their games were on the Pac-12 networks, which is not always a great thing if you're trying to get exposure, right? Not everyone had that channel, although we all worked hard, of course. And Colorado was just sort of this program where it's like, oh yeah, there's that program. Like recruits in Florida who he's targeting now, I don't think most of them knew where Colorado was on the map, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to Colorado now. Okay, sure. So you're losing someone who attracts top talent. You're losing someone who attracts all of the media attention. And I think you're really losing a unique program in college football because he made a non-traditional program a powerhouse talking point. It's not a powerhouse program yet, but he made it a powerhouse talking point. We have people talking about it nonstop. ESPN First Take was there. Fox Big Noon Kickoff was there like every week, it felt like. So you're losing all of that. And I think that's pretty tough for a program to lose after 2 years. And the timing would make it even worse because their options would be very limited. And regardless of what you do, you're not going to bring in someone who had the same magnitude that Deion Sanders did.
On the other side of that, if he gets offered the job or this kind of dance continues with he and Jerry Jones, but he ends up going back to Colorado, I would imagine that's almost even more helpful for the recruiting situation. Like, look, I stayed here. And second of all, I am being kicked around for some of the biggest jobs in all of football. Yep. I don't think that hurts the Deion and Colorado brand at all if he were to stay.
Yeah, I think I can see both ways. There's the pessimist in me says, I think him flirting with these jobs kind of shows that he's willing to leave, right? He sent out feelers for the Raiders job. Ed Warner, as you reported, said he would accept the Cowboys job. So I think if you're a recruit, it is cool to see that he chose you. Like it's cool for this team right now if he chooses them. For future recruits, I'd be a little concerned that, hey, at any moment he'd be willing to jump to the NFL. I think that's just like the future concerns from my end, at least. Because the pessimist in me goes, okay, he said for 2 years now there was no interest in coaching the NFL. And then all of a sudden, when our offer started coming in and jobs started opening, he was like, maybe I am interested. So I think I can see both ways. I think, like I said, for this roster, I think that's motivation. It's like, okay, Coach Prime chose us over the Dallas Cowboys. But if you don't think those coaches at Florida State, Miami, and all these programs that negatively recruit against Colorado already aren't going to use that to their advantage, they certainly will. They're going to be like, next time that job opens, he's going to hop to the NFL.
That's a great point, dude. That's a great point. So it may not help as far as that negative recruiting. Scotty, what do you got?
I was going to say, but Kevin, I'm under the impression, and I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so I have that bias, but I don't know that Deion's interested in the NFL as much as it's just this job, right? Like going back to Dallas, working for Jerry Jones, who he has a good relationship with. So I wonder how easy that would be for him to spin it. My question for you is, as someone who's there around the program, there's a lot of talk around here in Texas that is just asking the question, does his style of coaching translate to the NFL, to grown men, in their 30s in the locker room rather than 18-year-olds? What would be your perspective on that?
I think it's a really interesting question. I don't know. I honestly thought he was perfect for the college game because he's done what all of those guys want to do, right? He's made it to the NFL. He's played at the highest level, and he's very motivational. He's very inspiring. I think as we saw with Jimmy Horn Jr., he's the receiver whose father was incarcerated. Coach Prime kind of took like a father figure role. Same thing with Travis Hunter, took a father figure role. When you get to the NFL, those guys are there to cash checks. They're there to chase Super Bowls and to add to their legacy if possible. Like, they do not want to be hoorah, let's do this all the time. Like, they are there, it's business. And so I think it would work if they were winning, right? If they lose, I don't know how long you keep the locker room, because I don't think anyone in the NFL keeps the locker room for that long if you start losing, right? I think the NFL is a very much like, we need to win or you need to get out sort of business. And I think with the Dallas Cowboys job in particular, and this was my whole reasoning for him not taking the job, is Jerry Jones going to let him be Coach Prime? Is Jerry Jones going to let him sell his merch? Is Jerry Jones going to let him have his son and the other camera crews that have around him all the time? Is he going to let that happen? If he does, then there's no problem. But I feel like Jerry Jones, as we saw on his radio show, enjoys being the spotlight. And so is he going to want another sort of entity competing with him within his own team? I don't know.
Yo, Kev, what are they saying on the message boards? Like, I know you get a lot of that.
Yeah.
You have a real feel for what people are saying. What's the vibe?
They're getting to the edge right there. Pete, we got people going, you know what? If he wants to leave, just leave. And then there's some people who are like, make him the highest paid coach in college football, which I said this on my show, and I flirted with the idea of it, because a lot of people have been saying, pay him whatever he wants. And I hate to break it to people, I don't think Deion Sanders really needs money. I'm not really keyed in on his financial situation, but I would assume he's fine. Right. So he has a TV show. He's been a professional athlete forever, played 2 sports. But I think people and Colorado fans, they want to know that Colorado did everything they can to make it happen. Right. So, and I said this, if you're Colorado, you can't leave any stone unturned. You make him the highest paid coach. You name a mountain after him, whatever. People are feeling a little bit desperate. It's a little bit scary out there in Boulder, because he said multiple times, I don't want to go to the NFL. I have a kickstand here down in Colorado. I don't want to follow my sons. I'm my own man. And all of a sudden, it's like the Dallas Cowboys job comes knocking, and it's like everything he said has kind of gone out the window. So it's like, okay, if you're Colorado, I think you're getting those PTSD flashbacks of Carl Durrell going 1-11, where it's like, oh my gosh, we're like a signed contract away from this happening again.
Let me ask you a question, random. Is Deion single? I know he was with Tracy Edmonds and they separated. Is he like, is it reported that he's with anybody? What do you know, Kev?
I don't know the dating status of Coach Prime. I feel like he keeps that very close to the vest, but yeah, I think that could be another thing. Maybe the single man in him's ready for a new challenge. Maybe he's ready for
you don't know. Yeah. I mean,
I
feel like Deion's the family goes wherever he goes, but I know he was with Tracy Edmonds. I don't think they're together anymore. You got anything on this, Scotty?
Pete, I'm going to be honest with you. Keeping up with celebrity dating game is not my favorite.
It's tough. It's tough because I feel like every time people get invested, they break up, and then you have thousands of fans who are devastated by
Tom Holland and Zendaya.
Yeah, you want to talk about that all the time, don't you?
Well, they got engaged, and I like them.
Hey,
so.
she needs to get back to the Euphoria show. All right, anything else you got for us, Borba? You're the man for taking time.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys can find me over at Locked On Buffs. I'm covering the entire Deion saga, right? I think it's very fluid. I think it's ongoing, as we're going to talk about it for days to come. And I think I'll leave on this note. The only way to know if Deion Sanders is going to stay or not is when we find out who the Dallas Cowboys hire. And I think after that, all the jobs that he would be intrigued in are closed, and we'll just see if we do this dance again next year.
Kev, what's going to happen? Is when this search is over, is he the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys, or is he still with Colorado?
I don't think so. I think, can Scotty attest to this for me, Scotty? Do the Dallas Cowboys want to win now?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think bringing in Deion Sanders is like, I feel like that's a sign of a rebuild for me, right? You're bringing in a coach who's never coached in the NFL, and people always come at me for saying he played in the NFL. It's very different. He also played in the NFL 20 years ago, right? So things have changed. And I think he's at Colorado. I really do. I don't see why the Cowboys would want to take a chance on a college football coach who, mind you, he coached at the Power 4 level for 2 years now. We've seen guys like Urban Meyer, Matt Rule, Nick Saban of all people. They have not worked out in the NFL. So if Jerry Jones wants to take that risk, then by all means do it. But I don't think it happens this year.
Scotty, you got one more question? You good?
No, that's good. Thanks, Kevin.
Borba, you're the man, dude. Anytime you need me, you holler. I appreciate you, dude.
Thanks for having me, guys. Later.
That was our boy Kevin Borba from Locked On Buffs. What'd you think? A little reaction? He's the man.
That was good. That was good. Yeah. Appreciate that insight. No, I wonder, like, so Kevin, the problem is he was using good logic, and we don't always trust Jerry Jones to share that between the ears. Like Jerry Jones' reasoning and rationale for anything is not something that makes sense to most people, typically.
Yeah, even like we'll hear from Mosley soon, I'm sure, but like even Matt, like, you know, he has like a master's degree in the psychology or the insanity of Jerry Jones, and even he was like, I think this is more smoke and mirrors. So we'll find out, dude.
Yeah, well, that's why Ed's tweet today shocked me so much.
Yeah.
Ed Werder's tweet that said Deion is ready to take this job. Like, I was, whoa, like I just didn't expect the ramp up. And Pete, that could be 100% Deion giving Ed that.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
just to
pump it up.
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, we'll be back. Want to talk about Bob Uecker pay tribute to a legend.